Welcome to the Salvation and the Rapture channel. My name is Jeff, and I thank you for joining me tonight. This video is going to be quite a bit different than the previous two videos that I recorded. I struggled with what the Lord wanted me to speak about for my next video. There was about 3 subjects that were going through my mind, and I wasn't planning on making a video tonight, but a little while ago the Lord kind of, I think, laid on my heart what I was supposed to speak about. So here I am this evening, and so this video is going to mostly be a story, a story based on Mark chapter 12, verse 30 and 31. Love the Lord your God with all your heart and with all your soul and with all your mind and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So the story I have for you this evening is a difficult one for me, but I think it's important to tell it and hope that other people can learn from my mistake. So I live in an older home, and I bought this house in 2013. I lived in an apartment a year prior to that with my oldest son. He was between a year and a half and 2.5 when I moved out and into this house. And during that time I was dating my wife now, my wife who I'm married to now. Because we met in 2012, and we got married in 2014. So that's when she moved in to live with us. And so this house that we live in, like I said, is older, and it really could use a lot of updating when I bought the place, but it was very affordable and big enough for a small family to live in. So it was a pretty good decision to buy it and just fix things up as time and money allowed. So I've been working at the same machine shop for almost 20 years now. I began working there in 2004. So this was quite a long time after I had started working there. Like, this story would kind of begin around 2015 maybe. I've always worked first shift, and I've worked with a pretty good number of different people now that have come and gone. But one older man that I worked with, his name was Mark. He was from Racine, Wisconsin originally, and I know he said he spent time out in Seattle, but now he had come back and was living in Wisconsin again. And the founder of the company I work for, he's my uncle's younger brother, my uncle through marriage. So I'm technically not related to the founder and the other family members that work in the shop that I am employed at. But the founder of the company, he's big into flying remote control airplanes, and I believe belongs to a club of people that partake in that hobby. And the family that owns the shop that I work at, they hired an older man. His name is Mark. What was Mark? And he worked second shift. He maybe worked first shift for a while with me. I don't recall for sure. I think he did at first. And he was a former contractor. Now, this was several years ago, so I was in my mid to later 30s years of age, and he was considerably older than me. He was around 62, I think. So the time I knew him, he was late 50s, early 60s. Kind of beside the point, but he had been married and had 2 sons, I think 2, and divorced. A nice guy, not a good man, I would say, but nice, friendly. Had quite a few vices. I know he struggled with alcohol, and I know he was a chain smoker, but I didn't judge him for those things. It's not the right thing to do. I've been a Christian almost my entire life. My mother led me to the Lord when I was about 5 years old. But most of my life I just coasted, backslidden. But I've never been drunk in my life, never smoked a cigarette. I probably, in the world's eyes, at least most of my life, things have changed. But most of my life, people would probably say that I was a good person. But deep down inside, I knew I wasn't living the way that the Lord wanted me to be. I listened to garbage music for a long time. Used to play violent video games. That the whole time I knew these things were wrong, but a lot of the time I didn't care. I thought, well, it's not that bad. I kind of struggled on and off with various things like that probably pretty common, but still the whole time I knew it was wrong and did it anyway. So things really didn't change very much for me in those areas until the past few years of my life. A few years ago, the Lord gave me the will and the strength to break free from a lot of those things. But back to my main story. So Mark was a former contractor, very skilled at a lot of home repair things, building, construction, that sort of thing. And he was looking to make some extra money and offered to come out and help me with some projects for my house. And the first thing I remember he installed was a pendant light over our kitchen sink, and that went well. There was an old light. I think the light that was up above the sink didn't work. I think ultimately we found out it just wasn't connected anymore. But so I think we did get it to work. But that's besides the point. And later on, he did a number of other projects for us. He installed a ceiling fan with a light in it in our bedroom, and helped fully remodel our upstairs bedroom, which was in pretty rough shape. There wasn't even a light switch in the room. To turn the light on, you had to walk into the room, and I had a pole lamp, a standing pole lamp You'd have to switch it on by hand to turn the light on in the room. The room was just, in my opinion, never fully finished. But he was very skilled at what he did. This is all kind of beside the point, but that's the main reason that he would come over to our house, was to do projects for us. And he didn't charge a whole lot. Probably he should have gotten paid more than what he did, but he was great with my oldest son. My youngest boy that we adopted wasn't born until toward the end of the time I knew him. Mark, that is. I remember somehow Mark had hurt himself. I don't remember if he had injured a leg or an arm maybe. It doesn't matter, but he was out of work for quite a while, and I don't remember what, I think it was winter time, so maybe it was around Christmas. He built this big candy sculpture. I don't know what else to call it, but it was supposed to loosely resemble our house, and there's some trees and things. It was all made out of candy. He built this for my son on his spare time at home, and we put a lot of work into it. It was beautiful. And on my son's 6th birthday, he came and drew all kinds of neat chalk work on the sidewalk in the driveway for him, saying happy birthday. He was great to us. On one of my birthdays, toward the end of the time I knew him, he showed up at work with a bag full of goodies that he bought, and we had lunch together. This was at a time that he was laid off of work from the shop. But my point in this video is, ultimately, I did not show Mark the love of Jesus Christ, and I have been very ashamed of that fact for years now. And so this video is a warning to you not to do what I did. And I'm going to read these verses again. Mark chapter 12. I'm going to go back a few verses here. Mark 12, starting with verse 28. One of the teachers of the law came and heard them debating, noticing that Jesus had given them a good answer. He asked him, "Of all the commandments, which is the most important?" Jesus said in verse 29, "The most important one," answered Jesus, "is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these." So what happened between me and Mark, I believe this was around 2017. It could have been later, 2016, 2017. I don't remember exactly when this was, but it doesn't really matter. The garage here at my house was in really rough shape when I bought the place, and I had ultimately planned to one day have it torn down and have a different structure built in its place. But Mark, being a pretty skilled contractor at one time, he had the ability to repair the roof, which was greatly sagging because it wasn't properly supported. So he built this wooden box framework, and we bought a basement jack, just like this one here next to me. It's a jack for holding up helping to support the upstairs floor. So he just used it to help prop up the roof structure in the garage, and so he installed that and two other wooden posts. He re-roofed the garage for us and scraped and painted the siding, the wood siding. We have cedar siding on our garage, and he replaced some of the rotten boards. And all that went great. And the last thing I remember, well, one of the last two things, I don't remember the order in which he did, but he replaced the rear access door in the garage and put up some aluminum gutters because there were no gutters on the garage. So the last thing our garage needed was a new garage door, and so that was the point in contention between us. Mark wasn't all that healthy. He had a heart condition of some sort, which nothing against him, but certain jobs just were probably going to be pretty difficult for him, and it would take him a long time to finish a job like replacing a garage door because he worked alone, and we didn't want to be without using our garage for several days. So my wife and I called a local garage door installer company to come out and give us a quote, and they were also going to install a new garage door opener for us because the original Sears brand one was functional, but it was probably over 20 years old. It was quite old, and so we decided while we're replacing the door, we'll get a new garage door opener too. Then we won't have to worry about the old one failing. Well, Mark found out that we must have told him, I'm sure, that we were going to have the new garage door installed and an opener, and he insisted on doing that for us. I'm sure he wanted the money, which is understandable, and that's fine. But he was pretty upset that we didn't give him a chance to do the job for us, and that's okay too. He was entitled to his opinion, and but one evening he called me and he sounded drunk. He was slurring his speech, his words. And we didn't have a nasty conversation, but he was pretty upset still, and said a few things not too out of line, but just kind of rubbed me the wrong way, and and I excuse me, I wasn't Christ-like at all to Mark after that conversation, though. Like I said, there was no argument. I didn't yell at him. I didn't say anything that I regret to him. I just basically said, well, I think the conversation ended that, well, I'll talk to my wife about it and see if we'll maybe cancel the order with the garage door company and have you do it. And my wife and I just didn't want to go that route to have Mark do it because, like I said, it'd take him, days for sure to replace the garage door and an opener, where the company that we hired would get it done in one day, less than a day, which is what happened. But I made the mistake of refusing to talk to Mark after that day. I know he texted me a few times. One thing he texted me was, he knows that I'm interested in antiques and things like that, so he had some tool, I don't remember what it looked like, but he sent me a picture of it and asked me if I could identify what it was, and I didn't answer him. And I hate to say this, but he got in a motorcycle accident, I believe. Yeah, he had bought a motorcycle, he told me, and then he crashed it, and he was okay, but I remember he sent me a picture. He was kind of banged up, and I still didn't say anything to him. I just wanted to be done with him for some reason, which I can't justify to this day. And he did try calling me one time, and I didn't answer, and he didn't leave a message, no voicemail. One time he tried calling me, and I didn't answer, and I wish to this day that I had. So, yeah, I don't know if I explained it correctly, but so Mark got hired at the shop that I work at because he knew the founder of the company. They were in the remote control, the RC airplane club together. So the founder of the company, who is my uncle's brother, he knew Mark really well, and Mark also worked for him at his house. I know he built a tree house for his grandkids. So Mark had spent considerable time at his house too, working. He'd done other things too. I don't remember exactly what they were, to tell you. But one day, I believe it was in 2017, it was maybe only 2 or 3 months after I'd last talked to Mark, I got a call at work, and it was the founder of the company. And he said on the phone, "Mark killed himself." I felt awful. Why did I stop talking to him? Why didn't I answer the phone when he called? Maybe he needed a friend to talk to, and there wasn't anybody else, and there wasn't me either, because I refused to talk to him. Well, the story I heard was that Mark drank a pretty excessive amount of alcohol and mixed it with, I think, his heart medication, some sort of prescription medication. And the story I was told was that he intentionally killed himself. So, on that conversation, the phone conversation with the founder of the company, he told me that he had witnessed to Mark, and that Mark professed to be saved, and I hope he really was. I guess, to be honest with you, he and I had our doubts about that, but I'm sure he would agree that we weren't going to judge Mark. It's not the right thing to do. Jesus knows if he was saved or not. But there was great enough question in there that I felt awful about my lack of loving him as myself. I didn't do that. I did for a while, but I did nice things for him sometimes, but ultimately, when it counted the most, I wasn't there for him. I'm not telling you this to make you feel bad or pity on Jeff. No, I don't want your pity. I hope somebody will learn from my mistake and treat someone else with loving kindness if you maybe weren't going to otherwise. Take the mistake I made and you use it for good. Be there for somebody, witness to somebody that needs to know Jesus. Mark probably knew that we were Christians, but I don't think I ever witnessed to him. I spent plenty of time with him. I witnessed to a few people in my life, but I severely lacked any sort of confidence in telling others about Jesus. Most of the time I probably didn't even think about doing that. I have at times, but I'm in my 40s and I could probably count on maybe on one hand the times I actually put effort into witnessing to somebody, which is why I'm doing this now, I think. Why God called me to tell others about Jesus. I think time's running out, and Jesus said, now is the time that you're going to tell others about me. And I'm at the point in my relationship with Jesus that I said, of course, you want me to do it, I'll do it. I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's the right thing to do. And I should have been doing this most of my life and didn't do it. So I'm stepping up now to do the right thing finally. So that's my message for you today. Don't do what I did. Don't shut someone out of your life because they did or said something that you just didn't like. And Mark wasn't dangerous. If he was a threat to me or my family, like physical harm, or if he was going to be causing some mental strain or abuse on the family, that's one thing. But he was, for the bad habits he had, he was mostly harmless. I didn't have any good reason to shut him out of my life. So what I did is on me. I think I pretty much immediately confessed to Jesus when I found out that he committed suicide. Oh, Jesus, I'm so sorry that I wasn't there for Mark. Please forgive me. But by then it was too late. So I hope that this message will help somebody. It's difficult to tell you tonight, but I tell my sons, at least my older son, because he's old enough to understand, it's okay to make mistakes. Mistakes are going to happen. We're human. Just learn from your mistakes. You make a big mistake, okay, it happened, it's done, it's over with. Just learn from that and don't do it again. Use experience for good. So that's what I'm doing. I can't fix what happened other than to not make that mistake again with somebody else, and to tell others about what I did or didn't do. In this case, was I wasn't there for him. So take Mark 12, 30 and 31 to heart, and I'll read these one more time. I'll go back to 29. The most important one, answered Jesus, is this: Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, and with all your soul, and with all your mind, and with all your strength. The second is this: love your neighbor as yourself. There is no commandment greater than these. So, again, in conclusion, I showed some of Christ's love to Mark, but I probably don't need to mention this, but There was a time that he was arrested for an old, I think it was a traffic violation, a speeding ticket, I think, that went unpaid, and eventually he was questioned by a police officer that found out that there was a warrant in a neighboring or semi-neighboring county, and he ended up getting locked up. And he called me at work one day and said, "Jeff, I need your help. Can you please come out to this county, the jail, to come and get me out, because I can't get a hold of anybody else." Obviously I didn't want to do it, but I said, "Okay, Mark, I'll be there." And I did. I went and picked him up and brought him back home. So there were times I did the right thing, but ultimately, when it was most important, I let him down. And he used to say, "Jeff, you're a good friend." But I doubt he was saying that at the end. But hopefully this message will get to somebody that needs to hear it, and I hope that something good will come out of this. And I just want to say God bless you and thank you for watching. And hope you have a good night, and I'll see you next time.